Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Parujikacharya Ashtotartha Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parujikacharya Ashtotartha Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Krantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Now, first thing is, Prabhu, this is the ladies' side. If you can move over this way a little bit. Sit on a chair or whatever, just, yeah, whatever. Thank you. Either way. The other question is, where's the other garland? Did it disappear? Disappeared. Just see. Anyway, that's okay. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 25th day of December 2023 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 7, The Science of God, Chapter 4, Hiranyakashipu terrorizes the universe, text number 33. Nodvigna, Chitto, Vyasaneshu, Nikspraha, Shuteshu, Drishteshu, Guneshu, Avastudrik, Dandendriya, Prana, Sharira, Dihi, Sada, Prashanta, Kamo, Rahitasuro, Asuraha, Nodvignachitto Vyasaneshu Nikspraha, Shuteshu Drishteshu Guneshva Vastudrik, Dantendriya Prana Sharira Dhisada, Prashanta Kamo Rahitasuro Suraha, Nodvignachitto Vasaneshu Nikspraha, Shuteshu Drishteshu Guneshva Vastudrik, Dandendriya Prana Sharira Dhisada, Prashanta Kamo Rahitasuro Suraha, Nodvignachitto Vasaneshu Nikspraha, Shuteshu Drishteshu Guneshu Shuteshu Drishteshu Guneshva Vastudrik, Dantendriya Prana Sharira Dhisada, Prashanta Kamo Rahitasuro Suraha. Go ahead, Prabhu. Nodvignachitto Vyasaneshu Nikspraha, Shuteshu Drishteshu Guneshva Vastudrik, Dandendriya Prana Sharira Dhisada, Shanta Kamo Rahitasuro Suraha, Nodvignachitto Vasaneshu Nikspraha, Shuteshu Drishteshu Guneshva Vastudrik, Dandendriya Prana Sharira Dhisada, Rahitasuro. Yeah. Do Rahitasuro Suraha. Nodvignachitto Vasaneshu Nikspraha, Guneshu Drishteshu Guneshva Vastudrik, Dandendriya Prana Sharira Dhisada, Prashanta Kamo Rahitasuro Sura, Nodvignachitto Vasaneshu Nikspraha, Shuteshu Drishteshu Guneshva Vastudrik, Dantendriya Prana Sharira Dhisada, Prashanta Kamo Rahitasuro Suraha. Ladies? Nodvignachitto Vyasaneshu Nikspraha, Shuteshu Suteshu drishteshu guneshva vastudrik. Tandendriya prana sharira disada. Prashanta kamo rahita suro suraha. Nodvigna chitto vasaneshu nikspraha. Shuteshu drishteshu guneshva vastudrik. Dantendriya prana sharira dhisada. Prashanta kamo rahita suro suraha. Not yet. Okay. Anyone online?
Non-vigno chitta vasaneshu nispraha.
No, nichitto vasaneshu nikspraha.
Shruteshu drishteshu guneshu avastudrik.
Shuteshu drishteshu guneshva vastudrik.
Dantendriyo prano sharira dhiya sada.
Andendriya prana sharira disada.
Prashanto kama rahita suros ashura.
Prashanta kamo rasita sorosara. Na, not. Udvigna, agitated. Chittaha, whose consciousness. Vyasaneshu, in dangerous conditions. Nikspraha, without desire. Shuteshu, in things heard of, especially elevation to heavenly planets, because of pious activities. Drishteshu, as well as in temporal things seen. Guneshu, the objects of sense gratification, under the modes of material nature. Avastudrik, seeing as if insubstantial. Danta, controlling. Indriya, the senses. Prana, the living force. Sharira, the body. Dihi, and intelligence. Sada, always. Prashanta, quieted. Kamaha, whose material desires. Rahita, completely devoid of. Asuraha, demonic nature. Asuraha, although born in a demoniac family. Translation. Although Prahlāda Mahārāja was born in a family of asuras, that's demons, he himself was not an asura, but a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. Unlike the other asuras, he was never envious of Vaishnavas. He was not agitated when put into danger, and he was neither directly nor indirectly interested in the fruit of activities described in the Vedas. Indeed, he considered everything material to be useless, and therefore he was completely devoid of material desires. He always controlled his senses and life air, and being of steady intelligence and determination, he subdued all lusty desires. Purport. From this verse we discover that a man is not qualified or disqualified simply by birth. Prahlāda Mahārāja was an asura by birth. Do we say asura? Everyone says asura, but it's asura. Okay. Yet he possessed all the qualities of a perfect brahmana. Brahmanya Shila Sampanna, that's from a previous verse. Anyone can become a fully qualified brahmana under the direction of a spiritual master. Prahlāda Mahārāja provided a vivid example of how to think of the spiritual master and accept his directions calmly. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, while studying this verse, I couldn't help remember the verses by Kapila Dev Muni describing the importance of association of devotees. Importance of association of pure devotees. And in fact, this phrase here, Nikspriha Shuteshu Drishteshu, means that he had no desire for material things. And there's two categories: things that you hear about and things that you see directly, right? And which means, Shuteshu means, oh, let me go to the heavenly planets. I've heard about it. I've read about it. People have told me about it. And here's how you can go. You can perform sacrifices and you can get up to heavenly planets. Or Drishteshu means that you see directly. You're attracted to something in the material world. The senses are always reaching out, and in this way you can easily develop desires. Dhyayado vishayan pungsa sangha. This is in the Bhagavad Gita. By meditating on objects of the senses, one develops a desire for them, right? An attraction for them, which deepens into kama, into very strong desire, and then there's a progression downward. So, but here's this word, no udvigna chitto. This word udvigna comes up several times in Prahlāda's prayer, in his prayers to Nrsingadev later after Hiranyakashipu was killed, and also in his instructions to his father, the very first instruction that he gave his father. His father had no idea that he had already been preached to and trained by Narada Muni in the womb, that he was a pure devotee. He just saw him as his beloved son who was training up to be a very nice and wonderful demon. But he wasn't a demon. He wasn't going to be trained. So his father asked him, what's the best thing you learned today, Prahlāda? Because he was studying in the school taught by Shanda and Amarka. And so Prahlāda says, Tat sarumanye asudabhaya dehinam sadasa vignadiyam asadgrahat. So he says, here the word sadhu means the best. Sadhu means different things. So sadhu means, it's an adjective here, it means the best. Sadhu manya, in my opinion, the best thing I learned, Father, I didn't call him Father, Prabhupada makes that point, I called him Asura Varya, the best of the demons, the best of the Asuras. Sadasabhagya diyam Tatsadhu manya Asura Varya dehinam. Now who is it best for? Best for the embodied souls, dehinam, for the living entities. Who are sadasabhagvigna, that's the same exact word here, sadasabhagvigna. They're always disturbed to one degree or another. Now we may develop certain strategies to alleviate that disturbance or get beyond it or try to forget about it, but living in the material world is by nature a disturbing situation because it's unnatural for us. It's just like a fish out of water. You may give the fish out of water, a sedative, or you may encourage him, preach to him, have a one-on-one psychological session. But if he's out of that water, he's going to be really disturbed, and ultimately he'll die, right? Because he's out of his element. So we're out of our element. We're spiritual beings in the material world, right? We're pure spirit, but we're encased in this body of 8 elements, and it's a cause of the greatest disturbance. So Prahlāda's telling his father, now why are these living beings all disturbed? Sadasamudvigna, diyam, the intelligence, consciousness, asadgrahat. I've explained this so many times. It's very, it's so concise. There's a nice little line, it's not even a whole verse, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 1. I forget the Sanskrit, but the verse means, essential truth spoken concisely is true eloquence. And this is what you find not only in the Bhagavatam, but throughout the literatures, the Shastra. The greatest epitome of that is the Vedanta Sutra, which is extra short, right? Anandamayo Bhyasat. What does that mean? Just the 3 words. It's describing Krishna. He's always filled with bliss by nature, by his activities. Very, and of course it requires commentary in order to explain it. So, asadgrahat means that we're holding on, because it's all we know, to the material, asat, as our shelter. That's what it means to be a conditioned soul. The first thing we're holding on to is this body itself, right? That's the big thing. And then other bodies and property and everything material. And we've taken our so-called shelter there, and it's obviously temporary, but we forget that, and we try to make a permanent session here. And so naturally, it's disturbing. Just like here in Kali Yuga, in my short life compared to the whole Kali Yuga, it's gotten more and more disturbing, even in my short 75 years, 76 years. I mean, now it's living in a situation where those who study these things, these scientists who are always studying the world situation, they have a doomsday clock that ever since the first atom bombs were shot off. You say, how close are we to a nuclear war and destroy everything? So, during different periods between 1945 and today, they have it closer or farther away from midnight. Midnight means nuclear holocaust. So I'm not going to get into detail, but we've had some pretty difficult times, the Berlin crisis, and during the Cold War, there was so many confrontations between the Soviet Union and the United States, and then it's going 5 minutes, and then back, okay, we leave, go back to 10 minutes till midnight. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, which is, you read about it in history if you don't remember it, it was very close. It was about a minute to midnight, because it's like but it somehow, by Krishna's grace, it didn't happen, obviously. So we're sitting here. But now it's 90 seconds to midnight. Hello, time to chant Hare Krishna. That's what it means. And this material world is always fraught with the padam padam yad vibhadam natesha. Queen Kunti has certified it. Padam padam yad vibhadam natesha. No, that's a different verse. This is how to become free from all the danger of fear by taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. So anyway, Prahlāda is saying that people are always disturbed, so the best thing to do is to give up the cause of that disturbance, which is deep involvement in the material world, which is temporary. And so he tells his father, and here's one of the points about Prahlāda, is that he's completely fearless. That's part of the verse here. Vyasaneshu nikspraha. He's not disturbed, even in a great dangerous condition. This is like the emblem of Prahlāda. When his father finally gets disgusted with him because he's a devotee and he's preaching to the other boys and he's making them into devotees, so he decides to kill him. But he says he gives it off to his henchmen. They'll let them do it. They can't do it. They throw him off a cliff. They try to crush him under the elephant. They try to get the poisonous snakes to bite him and boil him in oil. What could be more dangerous than that? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He's so absorbed in thinking of Krishna that he's so absorbed. That's his specialty, is being meditating completely on Krishna. Completely protected. He didn't feel anything. That was very scary to his father. And he said, "Where'd you get your power from?" "Same place you did, Father. God." "Where's your God? Is he in this pillar?" Boom. I think he hits it with a sword, How comes Nrsimhadev eventually? That's the end of him. So this is the qualities by Kapila Dev in the third canto. Hare Krishna. Proven. It's correct. He agrees. So these qualities are personified by Prahlāda Mahārāja. So what are those qualities? So it starts off, there's 8 verses about the glories of the sadhu and the importance of sadhu sangha, this famous satsang, I'm sure it's an English word by now, which is the essence of this movement. Prabhupada said, why did he build all these temples? So people could come and hear about Krishna. So we would have a place to chant and Sankirtan. Sankirtan is the essence of hearing and chanting. You chant, I hear. I chant, you hear. It's the essence, right? The holy name is the most purifying. And from that, you get a taste for understanding more about Krishna, and we have these incredible books that Prabhupada labored so hard to produce. So it starts at prasanga madaram pasham atmana kavayo vidu saesha sadhashikato moksha dvaram vipavatam. Prasanga, there's sangha and there's prasanga. So sangha means association and it means attachment. Prasanga means very deep and meaningful association and very strong attachment. You see? So in this case it means attachment actually. And ajadam pasham means very powerful ropes binding the soul to the material world. These attachments we build over lifetimes. You know, we experience a little a pleasure, and then we become attached to that particular source of the pleasure, and then inevitably we're separated from it. Either we die, or or it just goes away, and so that causes lamentation. You see, this is the material world. Maya lures you into trying to enjoy, and then boom, the boom comes down, and you can't enjoy it. That source of enjoyment becomes a source of misery. There's a purport, I forget to what verse, probably said, the little happiness that you experience with sense gratification is your worst enemy. That is your worst enemy, because it induces you to forget all about spiritual life, all about Krishna, which you've been doing for millions of births, and try to repeat the enjoyment, which you may do for some time, but inevitably you can't. Either the senses can't enjoy anymore, or it goes away, or someone steals it, or whatever. That's the material world. Bhava Sagara. You know what bhava actually means, basically? Completely different word from bhava. Don't get them confused. These diacritics are very important. Bhava, change. Bhava means change. This is the ocean of change. We're born, and then we grow, and we stay for some time, and in the normal course of events have children or offspring, and then we gradually dwindle and we die. And that change keeps going. That's the samsara wheel: birth, old age, disease, and death, and all the concomitant miseries that go with it. That's the ocean we're in. Now in that, trying to enjoy, which is the reason we're there in the first place, is actually suicide. It's death for the soul, to become completely absorbed in material life. Of course, the soul cannot be killed, but it means it just prolongs the agony of material conditioning. And so trying to get out of that is the whole process of spiritual life, of bhakti yoga, is the sadhya and the sadhana. I was here in Prabhupada, I hear these lectures and these phrases. Very nice pairing, sadhya and sadhana. Sadhya means the goal that you're striving for, and sadhana means the way to the goal. Now, that dynamic is there in material life as well. Someone wants to, get a job, and he has a facility. I never had it, thank God, to work with cars, get involved in cars when you turn to be 15, 16, 17. But some of my friends did. So, okay, I can become a mechanic. That'll be my. So what do? You just go in and you start working on the car? No. You have to work with Joey for a while, and he knows the cars, and you learn all about the cars and what's in the car, how to fix it, That's the sadhya. I'm sorry, that's the sadhana. That's the practice. The sadhya is, okay, we'll hire you as a mechanic. You're skilled now, and now you have your job. It works in every sphere of life, in material life. In the spiritual life, understanding the sadhya is first, So the sadhya is going back home, back to Godhead, to attain an eternal life of bliss and knowledge. Now compare that to what you have now. It's not Satchidananda. We're not eternal. We're not full of knowledge. So much ignorance. And where's the ananda? There's little drops of sense gratification, which are very poor. You see that? So that's a great inducement if you have faith that it exists, and that's why the acharya is so important. Prahlāda Mahārāja had Narada Muni. Narada Muni was his guru. In the womb, he's preaching to him, and so he was able to impart in him the eagerness to attain the state that Narada had attained. You see, and this is always a fact. That's why the acharya is essential. To try to just get it from the books is impossible. You need to have personal guidance, and remember the song we sing every day. Shri Guru Charanarati Aise Uttamagati. Shri Guru Charanarati, it's really nice to study that song. Take the time. Mother Jalatala has nicely arranged that closet, amazingly. So we have the songbook standing up nicely, waiting for you to pull them out and study them in free time. I bought a whole box of them about 3 years ago. 3 years ago? Maybe 10 years ago. Time is going faster. So what does that mean? Shri Guru Charanarati, attraction for the lotus feet of the Guru, is the ultimate goal. Now, in one translation said this is the ultimate goal, but in others said this is the ultimate way. You see, the word gati means the way as well as the goal, the way to the goal. The sadhya as well as sadhana. So why is that? Because from the outside, if you try to imagine, because most of us have study the books a little bit, and we believe in it. But just to come from the outside, what we're doing is like weird, It's, the brahmacharis, you're missing out on all the fun, and the clothes, you guys, come on, what's the fashion? This is not going to attract any girls, That's what it's supposed to be. So in other words, it's really strange what we're doing, but it's it's not like going off in a corner or going off to the Himalayas or even to a yoga studio and sitting there and doing my yoga and meditating and then coming out and looking like an ordinary person. It's 24 hours. It's meant to be really serious life-changing experience. And the real radical thing is Harinam Sankirtan, where it's out in public. Hare Krishna. All right. Yeah, sometimes these are hard to turn off. And so the contrast is amazing. In other words, there's a chanting party, devotees are dancing ecstatically. We'll have a chance to practice this in a week, on New Year's Eve, and maybe before that. And the devotees are blissful and so forth. And if someone is a little intelligent, they'll say, well, what do these people have? What's going on here? And they'll become curious. They'll become interested, and take a BTG. It used to be a BTG. Now BTG probably don't even know what it means anymore. Back to Guided Magazine. But a book. We have all these books. Chant and be happy, right? That's pretty much what's going on. So that's the first inklings of faith, is the interest. And if you come in touch with Prabhupada's words, there's some tremendous power there, because there's no doubt he's experiencing it, what he's talking about. And from that page, it can tweak some more interest, so that you investigate it more, and you come to the point of associating, and you come to the point of wanting to practice. That's how things are going. So back to our verses. So what's describing here is exactly what's described in the third canto, the nature of a sadhu. Because what Kapila Dev says is one has to transfer his attraction from these powerful things in the material world that we've been attracted in time immemorial, which are like very strong binding ropes in the heart, the grunti, vidya grunta, and transfer that to sadhus. And put this particular verse into a little poem. Mundane affection keeps us tied to birth and death, infernal. But love for sadhus opens wide the doors to life eternal. And that's actually what's going on. So then he describes, the next verse is very famous, because he's saying, this is, these qualities of the sadhu. What are those qualities? Titikshava karunika suridak sarvadehinam ajata shatrabhak shanta saravak sadhubhushana. Here are the ornaments of a sadhu. Tolerance. What could more categorize? Prahlāda. Tolerance in the face of the greatest danger. But still, also, karunika, merciful. To whom? All the living entities, the embodied souls, the conditioned souls. Suridak sarvadehin, the best friend of all the conditioned souls. Why? Because he's eager to give them the way in which they can end all their suffering. It's not just food distribution. We do that, prasadam, we do that. But the main thing is knowledge distribution. Knowledge distribution, which Srila Prabhupada was, obsessed with, if you will. He had limited time, and he would use every minute he could to speak and dictate, write, and, give us these wonderful books. So, Suridak Sarvadehinam, not just the human beings, these poor cows are being slaughtered. And not only that, but because of the climate change, so many species are going extinct. If you read about it, human beings are the greatest bane. There's boons and banes. We're the bane of the existence on this planet. At this point, anyway, it's demonic. So, Suridak Sarvade Ajata Shatravat. And because of their character, just like the six Goswamis, right? It says they were friends of the Dhira and the Adhira. The self-controlled and the ruffians, they both liked them, because they were so loving, and they were so helpful, and they were so effulgent and blissful. So that is asuridak sarvadehinam ajatashak shanta, and peaceful. How do you become peaceful? Lord Chaitanya gives the wonderful formula. Bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakaliya shanta. Krishna bhakta nishkama ata eva shanta. This is right out of the Bhagavad Gita. Look at the end of the chapter 2. Vihaya kama nyaksarvam pumam charadi nikspraha niyamamon hankara sashanti madigachati. One who is free from all material desires, puman charadi nikspraha, niyamamo, has no sense of separate proprietorship. Everything belongs to Krishna. You see, that's a big source of anxiety. Oh, I got this, I lost it. You know, that's kanchati shoshati. No, free. So, bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakala yashanta. So he gives the categories of normal things that people want. Vast majority bhukti, material sense gratification. But there are also yogis who are really after the siddhis. You know, oh, I can go from here to there in an instant, or I can control people's minds, or I can create a planet. You know, you can imagine how enticing that might be. And then there's the mukti kamis. Notice they're all kamis, not communists, but full of kama. Even desiring one's own liberation and forgetting about everyone else, that's a form of personal desire. That's kama, mukti kamis. All of these the mass majority mukti kamis, plus the yogis who just want to go to the heavenly planet, so they want to go, I want to enjoy. And the same thing is for the mukti kamis. They're all ashanta. They cannot be peaceful. Even if I get mukti, but it's not really most pleasurable unless no one else gets mukti. You know, this is schadenfreude. I won't get into that, but that's the opposite of paradukkha dukhi. Paradukkha sukhi. You see how demonic that is? Paradukkha sukhi. Your misery is making me happy. This came out of Germany in the war. So, but for a devotee, paradukkha dukhi, he's unhappy to see others unhappy, and he wants to help by giving them Krishna consciousness to relieve it. That's the soft heart of the devotee, you see? So this was Prahlāda, and this was what Kapila Deva was talking about, and the analogy, it goes on. And he says, well, the importance of the sadhus is that they make themselves available for association. And I won't get into all the verses in this, but the key verse, after he describes the qualities of a sadhu, of course, what makes him a sadhu? Devotional service, you see? And he's always hearing and chanting the sweet vibrations about him, always glorifying me. So then he has this key verse, some of you may know it, Satam prasangan mama virya sambido pavanti ritkana rasayana katha tadjoshanad asu apavarga vartmandi shraddha ratir bhakti anukramishiti. So this satam prasanga, now it's interesting, that's the same word that it started with, prasangam, which is a powerful attachment to this world, which keeps us bound. Now the same prasanga for the devotees will liberate you from the world. Satam prasanga, for the satams, the saints, the sadhus. Satam prasangan, what are you going to hear amongst the sadhus? My glories, Kapila Deva speaking as an incarnation of Krishna. Mama virya sambido. And not just, you know, the wonderful pastimes in Vrindavan, but how the universe is created, how God creates the universe, how we've come to be. And it's so wonderful. Kapila Deva then explains that in detail in the latter chapters of Canto 3. You know, the false ego in association with the mode of goodness produces the mind, and gradually everything comes. He describes it in detail. So, Mama virya samvido bhavanti ritkana rasayana. Now these talks and descriptions of my glories are just like a life-giving elixir to hear through the ears. Rasayana is the most healthy liquid you can drink, and it's Krishna Katha. Aren't we enjoined from the beginning of Bhagavatam to do that? Pabandi, it says, Nigamakalpatado galitam param shakamakada mita drabasam mitam pabata bhagavatam rasamaliyam mohodaho rasikabu vibhavaka. It's not an accident then, right at the beginning of Bhagavatam, after these two very important verses, you know, full of all kinds of philosophy and you know, setting up what is the Bhagavatam and the glories of the Bhagavatam. Then he says, oh, and this Bhagavatam is full of, you know, the most beautiful Sanskrit slokas. And so here's a sample. So the Bhagavatam is a ripened fruit of the tree, the desired tree of all the Vedas, and it's probably you have to really don't skip over this word by word meanings. There's some of the and galitam means this fruit. It's a ripened fruit is semi-soft and easily swallowable. That's in the word by word meanings, immortal word by word meaning. So he says, but the Bhagavatam, oh saints, always drink it. Pibata means drink it. Drink this Bhagavatam. And not just, and even after liberation, keep drinking it. Alayam. Alayam, layam. Even after laya. Laya means where your material life is finished. But up to it and beyond that. In other words, the Bhagavatam is so transcendental that it's not just producing liberation, it's producing the highest level of prema bhakti, which you can drink and enjoy forever. So drink the rasam, it's full of rasa in both ways. It's like something to drink. Rasa is a juice, but it's also rasa, right? It's rasa of, conjugal rasa and friendship rasa, and all the rasas are there. So we're meant to drink it. And that drinking is just like Rasayana, a life-giving elixir, and it never gets stale. So then, Rasayana katat tajoshanat ashu apavarga vartmani, applying this process of just coming together and glorifying me. That's really what it's all about, Apavarga vartmani. Now, probably I won't go into detail what this word apavarga means, but it means liberation. It liberates you. And each of those vargas describes another problem that we're going to get liberated from. But how does it develop? Shraddha. It nourishes your faith in Krishna, in the Guru, in the process of devotional service, because that faith is foundational. If you don't have faith in chanting Hare Krishna, you'll give it up. You won't even take it up, But to continue, even when there's difficulties and the faith has to be there. And that's nourished by association with the faithful. So that's what he's talking about, by associating with sadhus who are full of faith and hearing them chant the glories of Krishna. But on the other hand, don't hear the non-devotees chanting, as a business. We have that also, with Spotify or whatever it is where you get, download the songs. And so you have to be careful that, because it's just like milk touched by the lips of a serpent. It tastes the same, but it's not. It has a poisonous effect. So hearing from the devotees is essential, and that was why Prabhupada was so eager to have everything recorded, because you could still hear Prabhupada directly. We used to have in this temple, I think Balaram, you remember that, one day a week where we'd have Prabhupada lecture. And I would have a screen, I'd get it out of the database, the whole transcript, and you could read along, because it's hard to understand Prabhupada at first. So anyway, so this is describing the qualities of Prahlāda, and it perfectly mimics or reflects the same description of the sadhu in those verses. And one of the things that I just wanted this idea, shuteshu drishteshu, that's also mentioned in the 8 verses of about the sadhu. Bhakti muho bhaktiya paman jat varaga indriya drishta shutan man vachananu chintaya. The drishta shutan, shuteshu drishteshu. It's a little different grammar, but it's the same thing. By practicing the bhakti, which you're picking up and you're getting trained by association with sadhus, bhaktya puman jata viraga, this gives rise naturally to vairagya, to detachment. Because both things have to be there to advance. Now we're being tied tightly to the material world by all of these material desires we've cultivated for lifetimes, and which are nourished by especially Kali Yuga. So that's keeping us tied here, and we're not interested. It doesn't even make sense, becoming detached and giving these things up to the ordinary person. So there's 2 kinds of detachment. So both of them are taking place. Both what you hear about from the Vedas. Oh, I can practice this sacrifice, and then I'll eventually be able to go to heaven. And I'll live there for thousands of years in Nandananda in a garden. I can enjoy like anything. Let me try it, So that's called shuteshu. Drishteshu are things you're seeing right in front of your face, And that also attracts you, can attract one or more of the senses. So he says, nikspriha, no desire. No desire for the heavenly planets, which in one verse it's described like a sky flower. Imaginary, it doesn't even pertain to me. It doesn't enter the heart. Your heart is too full with attraction to Krishna and enjoying, serving God and serving your spiritual master. So that called my attention, reminded me of the other verse, and that's the same thing in the description of the sadhu, because he's a sadhu. Now this also comes up, I wanted to point out, right at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, this idea of tolerance, titikshava, right? Titikshava is a word that means tolerance. So that's Prahlāda, personified. He's so tolerant, and he remains equipoised and dhira, even when all the causes of disturbance may be there. So, So in the Bhagavad Gita, we find Krishna saying, and this is a very famous verse, because Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna not to be so disturbed and reluctant to fight because of his attachment to those who are on the other side. Beginning with Bhishma Dev, right? Who took the role of his grandfather when Pandu died untimely and helped raise them from children. Very great, affectionate, wonderful devotee, pure devotee, Mahajan. And his teacher, Dronacharya. Those are the two main ones, but there's so many other relatives and friends, and even the Kauravas, even Duryodhana and his brothers, they're also part of the same, they're cousins. So they have this phrase in Sanskrit, cousin brothers, right? Just like, Kamsa he wanted to kill his own sister, right? Devaki, in a marriage. Well, how was the sister? Kamsa's father was Ugrasen. Devaki's father was Devaka. Yes, Devaka and Ugrasen were brothers. That makes them cousins. But but even in the Sanskrit, I checked the Sanskrit, and the word svasra is there, which means sister. So in the Vedic culture, you have the extended families, and the cousins, they act just like brothers, and the sisters are like that. So anyway, Arjuna was moved. He didn't want to fight. He said, "How can I fight? It'll be soaked with the blood of my friends and relatives. Who wants this kingdom anyway?" He was thinking on the material platform, but he was citing the Vedas to justify it. Who'll perform the Shraddha ceremonies if all these men get killed? Then what'll happen to the Pitris? And the women will be unprotected. Will get Varnasankara, and I'll be responsible. I'll go to hell. Who needs this? This is what he was thinking. So he sits down. So Krishna chastises him, that when he takes the role of a guru, when Arjuna surrendered, and he says, Ashocana Vashocastram Pragyavana. You're speaking learned words when lamenting for what's not worthy of lamentation, namely this material body. And then it's not long before he speaks the famous verse, Dehi nosmin yata dehe, komadam yovanangana. He's trying to show that no one dies. That you go through life in this one body, it's changing, you're already transmigrating to so many different bodies. And then at the end, tata dehantara prapdir. Prabhupada would often quote that one line. And then when the body dies, you go to another body. Prapdir. One has to be dhira. That's one of his things. Sharira dhi. Dhira means equipoised. When there is cause either for great enjoyment or great danger. And Prahlāda, showed that. So this is dhiras tatra namuyati. Those who are dhira, when this happens to their beloved relatives, it's not your own death that he's talking about, it's your brother. Then you remain dhiras tatra namuyati. You're not bewildered by it, but you feel it's a natural. Even when great devotees disappear. When Prabhupada disappeared, the devotees were disconsolate. Everyone was crying and everything. And that's what's supposed to be. Prabhupada said, you're supposed to do that. Well, how does that comport with being dhira? He says, yes, this is natural. But that's why titikshava comes out. Titikshava karunika. How is it? Matasparshit, thanks for Matasparshit kundeya shitoshnasa gudukada agama paino tam titikshvasya bharata. is that there's always these changes. There's cold and heat, there's winter and summer, and they come and they go. One has to remain dhira, it's equipoised, that famous equipoise, which no one knew how to spell when Prabhupada was first dictating it. We have so many books, the old books, equiposed. It's equipoised. And then the next verse describes the importance of that. Do you know that one? This is one of Vijay's favorite verses. No. Anyway, the gist of it is that one has to be, that one who can tolerate is not one who is not disturbed when these things happen. Only they are eligible for liberation. And the word dhira is there also in that verse. So the point is that yes, you naturally be disturbed, but you have to also have you can't freak out. In other words, Arjun was freaking out preliminarily. In other words, he wasn't dhira even at the prospect of being killed. How could I even live without the sons of Dhritarashtra? I mean, that's one of the most amazing lines in the whole Gita. They tried to kill him and his brothers in so many ways. They tried to burn him alive in that house of black, remember? But here Arjun, who's the ideal devotee, he's forgiving all that, forgetting all that. He says, oh, you know, we're cousin brothers. I can't imagine not living with them. When you think about it, it's amazing. So yes, there's going to be pain. Even devotees, you know, beloved devotees depart. It's devastating, you know. But that is natural and it's good. But you can't let it completely, you know, knock you off your course of bhakti. And only those who can remain equipoised, even when these crises happen and these shocks happen, are eligible for liberation. Because liberation requires that at the greatest shock, when you're facing your own death, you can keep your equipoise and remember Krishna. You see? If you really understand and you believe and you experience that you're transcendental to the body is not you, then when it's going, you can still call out to Krishna and remember Krishna. So all of that is here, and Prahlāda is being described. And I love this line at the end. Prashanta Kamo, the strong desires are all pacified. He doesn't have it. And Rahita Asura, very poetic. Rahita means devoid of. Asura means qualities of an Asura, although he's Asura. He's born as an Asura. Rahitasura. There's Bhagavatam, and it's such wonderful. I mean, the literature is really great. Even the you know, the mundane scholars who read Bhagavatam, they appreciate the quality of the poetry in there, the Sanskrit poetry. So that's one of the relishes in the Bhagavatam. Essential truth spoken concisely and beautifully and poetically is true eloquence. Oh boy, taking a long time. All right, any questions on any of these points? Dvijamani Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for a wonderful lecture.
Hare Krishna.
My question is about Titiksha and Karunika.
Yeah.
What's the secret of unwavering Titiksha and Karunika? Because we experience that we might have a little bit of tolerance and compassion, but it doesn't last. We always run out.
The secret is to become, you know, stronger and stronger in devotional service. You know, this idea that comes up, and then everyone says, well, how can I do that, you know? Chanting Hare Krishna 24 hours a day? And even to chant Krishna during all your waking hours is difficult enough, but in my sleep also? Is that what it means? That the constant connection to Krishna, you know, through the chanting basically, is what enables someone to go through tests. You know, am I really going to be dhira when this is going on? I just got arrested and thrown into jail. I was on Sankirtan. They took my phone. I can't even call. You know, very disturbing things. They used to happen like that. Sometimes they happen now. So those are the tests that we're going to have, and the biggest test is going to be when we die. You know, that's going to be a real test. So this is all training, actually putting yourself into difficulty for preaching. You know, for doing any service, but you know, preaching is it's always available. is great training. How you can truly become dhira, how you can truly become tolerant without, giving up the service or becoming discouraged. And these Sankirtan stories, the Vijay sends out, and what we hear, you guys do, they're just so amazing. Because you can get on a list. You got an email list, and then it's usually nowadays in the marathon it's at least one a day, and people like that story about it's really memorable by what's his name, the big distributor from Michigan. What is it? Parameshwar. So he has he said, "Oh, this is the worst day of Sankirtan of my life I was having," and he's been in top, book distributor for many years in America. So he's in Florida, and he said, where I was at some university and they were really humiliating me. You can imagine what they were doing. He wasn't distributing many books. I only distributed $200 by noon. That's like not enough for him. And so there was a 4-hour drive to his last spot, which was the university also. He said, should I really do this or just quit? It's about 1 o'clock. He said he'd never quit. All right, so he goes in 4 hours. He finally goes there, sets up the table. And it wasn't long before a professor eagerly came to see him, Oh, what was the book that he asked for? Bhagavatam. No, I think you have the second canto first, a specific volume, So Parameshwar said, why just the second canto? We have the whole thing. You may need it sometime, because all right. So he told the whole set of Bhagavatams, which is it 18 volumes that you're selling? So, and then he asked, do you have the Chaitanya Charitamrita too, He said, yeah, sure, So he sold one of each set after a hard day in Sankirtan. And here, all of these Sankirtan devotees, they have to learn to become equipoised and to not, get discouraged when there's negative things happen. Otherwise, how can you do the service, And so you kind of build up your muscles, but obviously there are times when this discouragement may be creeping in there, So it's just a question of having that internal Krishna consciousness that can't be touched, There's always, you can have a whole armory of verses to that you can call on, that can provide you inspiration. I mean, that saved me, though I would have never made it without the shlokas. I'm sitting in Atlanta. I'm not in the BBT anymore. I'm in the BI, and there's nothing to do. It's like there's nothing to do. But I have the whole Stavamala that's been translated by Kushakrata, and he Xeroxed the whole thing. So it's full of like the Namashtaka. Namashtaka is such a wonderful thing. It's verses about the holy name and consisting of holy names. So I'm working on memorizing it. They loaned me a tambur, Agadamana Yashora Nandano Nandasunu Kamalanayana Gopi Chandra Vrindavanindra Pranata Karuna Krishna Vityaneka Swarupe Try Mamanata Duchai Vardatam Namadeya. So it's a prayer to the holy name. And first he gives some samples. Agadamana, can anyone guess what that means? Killer of Agasra. Yashoda Nanda Nandasunu, we know those, right? The beloved son of Yashoda and Nanda. Now, just like it says in that song we sing, Amala Harinam Amiya Vilasa, that his song is filled with all these holy names, which are filled or remind you of his Krishna's pastimes. So every name evokes some pastime of his. So that's what this verse says. Agadamana, Yashoda Nandana, Kamala Nayana, you have beautiful lotus eyes. Gopi Chandra, you're the moon that causes the gopis, lotus eyes to blossom. They love you so much. Gopi Chandra, Vrindavanindra, the Lord of Vrindavan. And then my favorite, Pranata Karuna, you who are so merciful to the surrendered souls. I said, someone can name their son or daughter Pranata Karuna Das or Dasi, Pranata Karuna, and of course Krishna, prime name. Aneka Surupa, you have unlimited names. Mama Aneka Surupe, Twai Mama Daturuchai Vardatam Namadeya. Oh my dear Lord, please increase my attraction for you in these forms more and more, and your attraction for your names. That's a prayer that we can all, adopt. So the idea is that by immersing yourself in hearing and chanting, and which is where the potency comes from, you can do that even when you can say, okay, I'm taking a 15-minute shloka break. I'm going to chant this and that, Hare Krishna, which you probably do anyway. That's always the key. Is that Krishna? And who is it who was saying now? It's I think Brigupati who's been spreading it over the years. Reading the prayers to the six Goswamis I'm having a difficulty and I know the antidote. People aren't taking books. I'll just read or chant these prayers to the six Goswamis, and then you get so enlivened and the books start flowing out because they're so potent. So that's what I can recommend, and maybe it's something I can help you with also with the shlokas and the meters and everything. All right, it's late. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much.